Okay, so this is The Bottom of the Well. This is the second ever visual novel that I think the only other visual novel that I played is Helltaker, which was kind of a visual novel, kind of not. But I'm gonna start playing a lot more visual novels because they're interesting and I enjoy them, and also achievements. But yeah, Bottom of the Well, and I'm not too sure what's going on in this. This is some sort of post-apocalyptic survival visual novel. We get to choose our stats. They have, I would like to the default Alice, randomly generated, custom, dark. Let's just go with the recommended. The default Alice is capable of finishing the game to its true ending, but not necessarily through all branches. This Alice is career motivated, friendly somewhat, lazy, a hopeless romantic with no survival skills at all. She makes up for it by being a good organizer. Sure. Why not? Sounds fun. Acceptance start. Oh, what is this? We're at a computer. Dream diary. Today I had the weirdest. Okay, let me read that. Morning, A. Alice. Morning. Did you catch the anniversary reading last night? No. Well, I tried, but I fell asleep. Listen about that. You fell asleep. Oh, come on. Alice in Wonderland is like our favorite. Let me finish. Something happened. I was tuning in on my radio. You're such a Luddite? Amazing. What's a Luddite? Amazing. I can even catch you online. Shut up. I'm not a Luddite. I just like analog things. Anyway, I was tuning into the broadcast and I must have hit the AM switch or something because suddenly the channel changed to something else. What? Aliens? The government running number stations? Oh, the government run number stations? No, it was this weird like white noise at first. It's hard to explain why I was so drawn to it. I could hear snippets of some melody, maybe lyrics, but the signal was weak. So you turned it off and continued looking for the Alice broadcast. So I went out on my balcony and turned the antenna around until the signal came through clear. It now sounded more like music, with the odd signal in the background. Oh, okay. When logic and proportion have fallen sloppy dead, and the white knight is talking backwards, and the red queen's off with her head. That sounds like Alice in Wonderland. Oh, so somebody's pirate radio broadcast of golden oldies? I felt like there was something else there. Some message that the music was hiding. I know it sounds weird, but then I fell asleep. Honk shoe. What a story. No, hear me out. I dreamed and I didn't know I was dreaming. Do you understand? It was entirely lucid, but like waking up in another world, except I didn't think of it as another world. Does this make any sense? You had a super lifelike dream where you didn't know you were dreaming, but you were still lucidly in control. Sounds pretty rad to me. Is he like the Mad Hatter? I'm sure it would have been, except for the whole end of the world apocalypse bit in the dream. Oh, so this is like her dream is the story that we're about to be part of? Okay, now you've got my attention. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Oh no, we have to make choices? This is not good for me. No, I make terrible decisions. Okay. So, like I said, it was the end of the world. Everything I did that day felt like the real thing. Every smell, every sound, every color, and every touch. It's important you know that. I wasn't acting like I would in a dream. I didn't know it was a dream. Heavy. There was no warning, no build-up, nothing. Just between one moment and the next, the TV had turned to the emergency alert system, and this voice that sounded like it had been recorded in the 60s told us we were under attack. Were you alone? Yeah, I had a really long day at the office, so I had sworn off all social contact for the evening. I had the TV on in the background just as noise. The office? You mean you got some kind of a real adult person job in this dream of yours? Yeah, actually at the college students admissions office. Hey, don't sound so surprised. I am going to graduate in just a few months, you know. with a BA in English lit. Oh, with a bachelor's? That's pretty cool. Such skill with words. Anyway, what happened next? Like I said, the TV suddenly turned into the emergency alert system, jacked the volume all the way up, too. I didn't even know they could do that. The broadcast told us we were under attack right now, and that we needed to get to shelter. That we had less than 30 minutes before the bombs hit. Jesus, sounds scary. At first I didn't want to believe it. I switched the channel, but they were all the same. And then the sirens started. Tornado sirens. Flood sirens. I don't know. I knew things were serious. So what did you do? Oh, first choice. Okay. I went online to find out what was going on. Immediately tried to call Chess. The Cheshire Cat. I need to think about my options. Let me think. What would I first do? If I heard sirens, I wouldn't go look online. I wouldn't immediately call somebody. I would think about my options. Okay, what was your plan? The broadcast kept saying to stay indoors, to keep all windows and doors closed, stuff like that. Was it realistic of you to think you could stay in the apartment? Realistic? It wasn't like I had been through a lot of apocalypses before. I'm not sure what constitutes realistic. I had enough food in my cupboards to last me a little while, so at least I had that going for me. Oh yeah, and then I had my trusty radio, of course. I tried it and it worked. It was sending out the same emergency broadcast as the TV. And you called me a Luddite? You got me there. So what did you do? I guess the next thing I would do is try to figure out, after we came up with a game plan, I would try to figure out if, first, if the internet was still on and that anybody's posting about what's happening. Didn't you try calling someone, like your parents? Of course I tried, but it was futile. The phone network was completely overworked, but the net still worked fine. So what'd you find? The net was still working, but the bandwidth was severely lacking. The major news networks were either down or overloaded, but all the big search engines defaulted some kind of government site in a super simple HTML that kind of confirmed it really was the real deal. Isn't the net supposed to be some kind of DARPA invention anyway? Wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of system in place to take it over if need be. Well, they hadn't taken it over. You could still go over wherever you wanted. Facebook still worked. Apocalypse-proof servers. Nice. It was intense. Or it was insane. I tried to get in touch with my brother. He's the only one who's even got an account. But there was no reply. I spammed my aunts and sent an email to my mother, but I don't know. It felt like I needed to find someone right there and then. And a group chat. I was spreading through our social network like wildfire. Oh no, it was spreading. Someone had found the closest old fallout shelter that was actually still operable down on 3rd. People were going there just grabbing all they could and run before the bombs fall. So what happened next? I did find you online. That must have been useless. I'm all the way over in old Blighty. Unless things were different in your dream. No, you were still in the UK. The bombs had already started falling there. But you disappeared. There was nothing more to do. It was only a dream, Al. Sure. So what then? Who's this chess person? Why do we have to keep trying to call them? The fallout shelter seemed like the best option. Yeah. Why would we tough it out at home now that we know that it's bombs? The fallout shelter. The old fallout shelter was down on 3rd. It wasn't far, close enough to walk anyway. Did you think to bring anything? Oh right, yes, I grabbed the biggest bag I had. A backpack. People always called it magic. You could fit so much into it, bigger on the inside and all that. Oh. Take flashlight. Take flashlight. Take radio. Take map. Oh, okay. We're not gonna need a sleeping bag. We can wash our clothes, so we'll take food. Food for survival. Sleeping bag. We can rough it out. It's not that big a deal. Spare clothes. We don't need that shit. We need a radio for communication. We need a map for location. Flashlight for when it's dark. And food. Well, go on. What was it like? Did you run into trouble? You could say that. God, that shelter. So, I headed towards the shelter from my apartment. I'll admit, I was still kind of hoping it was just some kind of big false alarm and by tomorrow everything would be back to normal. Like an extreme version of Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast. Actually, the panic that radio show caused was greatly exaggerated, probably by the Welles himself. And it worked. We still remember it today. Great ad campaign. Guess that English Lit degree is coming to some use at least. Yeah, well, it didn't really feel like it. I remember trying to think of words to describe the way the streets felt, the way the city sounded, turmoil, chaos, anarchy, tumult, pandemonium, the capital of hell. Now who's got a degree in Lit? Stop stalling. Yeah, it's just so fucking damn. Like I said, everything felt so real. The panic in the streets, the accidents everywhere with no emergency responders showing up, and the ever-present siren. It was like everyone walked with their eyes to the sky, just expecting to see a flash. Did you make it to the shelter okay? The shelter was actually in the basement of the bar. They used it as a storage, which was handy since there was a door towards the street. But there were no signs or anything like that anymore. I just knew about it from the Facebook conversation. Okay, wait. Isn't that the bar you always go to? The Rad Boar? Yeah? Go on, Alice. Did you get in? I went to what I thought was the side door. It wasn't the kind of alleyway I'd usually hang out in. I could just imagine junkies and hobos sleeping among those trash bags. Anyway. The suspense is killing me, so I knocked on the door and then immediately tried the handle. It was locked, nothing happened for a while. And then the door opened, just a bit, and she stuck her head out. She, the bitch queen. She was the redhead chick who had taken charge of everything in there. She was the one who originally posted about the place, so I guess she felt she owned it somehow. Jesus, there's always one. She stood there in the doorway, looking me over, and then basically said, "We're full." Like it was an exclusive club. No way she said we're full in a shelter. I can't believe they just keep you out for no good reason. Was it actually full? Not a chance. There was a sign on the door that said capacity 100. There was just no way there was 100 people in there already. I said as much. She didn't reply. I guess you didn't just let it be that... wait, I guess... I can't read, please. I guess you didn't just let it be at that. I tried talking my way in. I tried to push the door open. I said I wasn't the only one wanting to get in. I gave up. Let's try talking. We don't want to be aggressive. We don't want to start problems. I tried talking my way in. You can't just leave me out here, and so forth. She just repeated that they were full, that there wasn't enough food for anymore, that I should try to find some other place to hide. Stone cold bitch indeed. I tried telling her I wouldn't be a burden. I had brought food. I opened my bag and showed her. You're nicer than I would be. What did she say? I wasn't being nice. I was being desperate. I was trying to figure out the rules of this sudden new reality. She hesitated. Then she said, all right, but you will have to share? I have 2 cans of food. A bribe, huh? How tempting. What was your answer? Maybe once we have a base of operation, we can go out and find more food. So we'll see. I decided to take her up on her offer. So she let me slip in, closing the door behind me with a bang. I barely had time to get my bearings before she started taking command again, telling me to hurry up and to empty me bags. Empty your bags. She had some kind of notion she should be in charge of the supplies. And what did you say to that? I talked to her about it politely. I asked her who the hell put her in charge. I followed her orders. I didn't want to rock the boat. I'm gonna ask her who the hell put her in charge. Holy shit, Alice, I didn't know you had that in you. I don't know. I was tired, stressed out of my mind, panicking. The bitch tried to keep us outside and now she wanted my stuff? I didn't have time for her shit. Not that I'm in support of this course of action. I am. But you had sort of made a deal with her. That deal was off. You go, girl. How'd she react? Stunned that someone would actually stand up to her. What does she have to say for herself? She said she was the proprietor of the Rad Bar and therefore the legal owner of the Fallout shelter. And that it was only out of the kindness of her heart that she allowed us inside. You literally said that we had to share our food with you. It wasn't out of the kindness of your heart. Allowed you, huh? Yeah, but I was used to her kind. I saw them all the time at work. Entitled mothers, spoiled students, stuck-up RAs. I told her flat out she wasn't going to boss people around when lives were at stake. All the time at work, I wish my dreams would give me this kind of confidence. Well, her bubble didn't exactly burst, but she went quiet and left me and mine alone. Oh, that's pretty good. Did she leave you alone afterwards? The place had maybe 20 people in it, us included. She said they were full and they barely had 20 people, bruh. But she stayed away from most of the rest of us, so yes, she did. Were you the last to arrive? No, soon after there were some others. These she let in without trouble. Embracing one of them, this big burly guy with a motorcycle jacket. Someone you knew? Actually, yes. Ray was his name. He lived pretty close. I mainly knew him for his love of motorcycles. I had no idea he knew the bitch queen. Well, she owned a bar. Bikers tend to go to bars, so it makes sense. But the place was still empty? Yeah, soon after though, there was another knock, and then this time the bitch queen tried to do the same thing she did with me. What did you do? I kept quiet. I'm not gonna rock the boat more. I'm just glad she left me alone. I know it's just a dream, but geez, what was she doing was just not right. I know, but I was afraid. I didn't want to be thrown out. I understand, still, it boils my blood. Well, anyways, she and her friends closed the door and made sure it was kept closed. I really hope whoever was left outside actually left to find other shelter, because when the bombs started to drop... Ah, yes. The bombs. We were all on the ground, down a set of stairs leading to the actual bunker. It was filled with barrels and barrels of beer and other drinks, but at least there was light for a while. Oh, they don't have to worry about running out of drinks. They have plenty of beer. So it actually happened, the nuclear war. Yes, we had a radio with us and we all sat clustered around it. At first, there were sporadic reports that the US missile defense system was working and that it was shooting down the incoming warheads. But then the signal turned off, and a few moments later, we felt the rumble. Holy shit, but were you okay? The shelter did what it was designed to do, yes, although at one point there was a terrible sound just above and the shelter was briefly filled with dust. I was pretty sure we were all dead. People were screaming, babies were crying, the lights flickered and died. It was the end. Holy shit, your subconscious wasn't joking around. We subsisted on candles and flashlights and waited for the radio to come back. It did after a while. So, flashlight was a good idea. Glad we brought that. What did it say? Just about expected fallout patterns. It sounded very recorded, but I guess there had to be someone alive up there still clicking the buttons. But even that ended after a little while. Wow, okay, so how long did you stay down there? Well, the radio said there was a cloud of radioactive ash coming our way within 24 hours and told everyone to stay inside until further notice. Then it died. So, I guess you stayed at least 24 hours then. Of course, the problem came when we tried to leave. What? Well, the shelter was underground underneath a big trap door, and the house above, it had apparently collapsed on the trap door. We tried to open it, pushed and pushed, but it wouldn't budge. Damn, that's like a real nightmare, buried alive. Oh shit. Well, we had food down there for a while, and if we started drinking beer with our meals, we could probably stretch it out for weeks. Of course, then we'd all be kind of drunk all the time too, but what then? People would probably fight, especially Bitch Queen. Maybe there'd be rescue. Maybe. But what if there wasn't? What do the others think? Ray and his queen wanted to sit tight and wait for help. A few of the others wanted to find an alternative way out, maybe through one of the ventilation shafts. A third option would be to keep working on the trap door. It opened out, but if we removed the hinges and got it to collapse inward and then dug up through the debris? The radioactive debris? Anyway, people were getting very antsy, so it was time to make some kind of decision. My decision: drink the beer, get drunk, make bad decisions. So what did you do? Staying put and waiting for rescue seemed the best option. I voted for working on the trap door. Opening up alternate exit seems the wisest. It's like the ventilation shaft. What did it matter what I wanted? I just sat back to see what the others did. Okay, I'm seeing a few problems with all of them. Staying put and waiting is going to exhaust our food supply because we have no renewable sources of anything. They said weeks. Working on the trap door is like Mad Hatter guy said. Radioactive debris. No good. Radioactive. Ventilation shaft. If we fucking around trying to go through the ventilation shafts, that's what's giving us clean oxygen to the bunker. If we fuck with that and break it somehow, everybody's gonna die. So I don't know if that's a good idea. What did it matter what I wanted? I just sat back to see what the others did. Let's just do that. Let's just sit back, observe. So you just gave over your life to the others? Hey, you weren't there. Have you ever had an argument with someone you can barely see in the dark? Well, it feels like the whole weight of the world rests above you. Screw that. It wasn't my place to make decisions. Alright, so what did they decide? Everyone bitched and talked a lot, and all the various options were hashed and rehashed over and over again. Not like we had a lot else to do. Eventually, though, the bitch queen and her cohort won over, if nothing else, through sheer force of will. We were staying. And you were fine with that? I didn't want to make the decision. Now someone else had done it for me. Seems like waiting to die to me. Anyway, it wouldn't be forever. Well, no, unless you were planning on dying down there, or maybe living like moles. Oh, the next day. I didn't even realize stuff was changing. We couldn't make do forever, of course. Eventually, we had eaten all there was to eat. I had no idea what the fallout situation was outside, but hopefully better. What then? There was no help, of course, nothing at all. The radio didn't come back on either. We were also running out of batteries and candles. Soon we'd be reduced to sitting in the dark drinking beer. That don't sound so bad. That actually sounds like kind of fun. Jesus. I guess the bitch queen must have agreed something needed to be done. Actually, no. I think something broke in her when there was no help. She couldn't act anymore. Ray actually came over to me and asked me to help, but there was nothing I could do. She had started drinking already, adamantly refusing to think anything but that there would be help, sooner or later. What did you do? I decided together who I couldn't start working on the trap door. I decided to try the ventilation shaft. Now the funny option would be getting some beers. Radioactive. I decided to gather who I could and start working on the trap door. I guess. Okay. Since we're gonna have to make a decision between the ventilation and the trap door anyway, here's what I'm thinking. Trap door could work, but there's a 50-50 chance that we get radioactive debris. The ventilation shaft could work, but there's a 50-50 chance that we break it and we suffocate. but the ventilation has to lead somewhere, and it's obviously still working, so it didn't get damaged, which means there could be a way out. So let's try the ventilation shaft. Correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you get your air from the ventilation shaft? Well, yes, so it was kind of risky to go messing with it. Yeah, like I said. And we all knew that, but the trapdoor didn't feel like a good idea, and neither was just staying put, so it was a shot. So what did you find out? Well, I stood on the shoulders of some of the others, and managed to dislodge the grate with one of the shafts in the room. I shone a flashlight and saw it was just barely big enough for one thin-shouldered person. Sounds like someone I know. Well, with a bit of help, they pushed me up into the shaft. It was tight, very tight, but I could just barely wiggle my way upwards. This was roughly the point I remembered I have a serious fear of enclosed space. Oh, of course. Well, I understand. What if you got stuck? No one would be able to help you, especially if it was somewhere further up. Who knows if it even led to the surface or if it was unblocked up there. Risky. Yeah, I know. I definitely had some reservations. So, what did you do? I decided to try the trapdoor instead. The trapdoor, huh? Seems like the safest idea. What did the bitch queen think? She was set on staying inside. She wouldn't lift a hand to help. I'm pretty sure that even if we managed to open the door outside, she'd still stay. Did you open the door? We managed to break open the trapdoor so that it opened inwards. This only took a few hours. The guys who had been helping me with the door were both hit by the rubble. I think one got his leg half crushed and the other got a really nasty blow to his head that gave him a concussion. Fuck, they got fucked up. Oh damn, but aside from that, it must still have felt pretty great, right? Not really. For a brief moment there was a flash of daylight coming from outside, but then it was just a flash. Like someone offering you hope just to snatch it away immediately. But at least we were reminded that the sun still existed. So how much work was there? A lot. Really a lot. I wasn't alone at least, but it looked pretty bleak. So, did you go at it? Well, it was quite a lot of dust. We were there working on the rocks, so we needed to consider whether or not we could do it in any proper time. So what did you do? We started digging. It took upwards of 4 days to dig through, but by the end of it, there was a light. And then, I wish I could say, and then we went happily into the sunlight, but I can't. What? Why not? I think it was the dust. We all breathed it in when we worked. Radioactive. Really radioactive. We all started feeling it during the dig, but I guess we just kept going out of inertia. By the end, but you were so close. Come on, someone must have helped you. Carried you? I was too weak. I couldn't keep food or water down or even stand up. Not everyone was the same, I guess. Radiation affects everyone differently, but I couldn't handle it. They didn't help? I killed all of my friends with that dig. Anyone who helped me died, either there and then or later. I was just happy someone took the time to place a pillow under my head before they left. I only wish they would have at least dragged me up as well, but I could see the sun from where they left me. That was nice. So that was it? Yeah, I blacked out soon after and didn't wake up. I mean, before I did. That was terrible. I bet you, since we die anyway, we probably got stuck in the ventilation shaft and suffocated. That was probably what would have happened. And thus concluded my dream. Well, that was interesting. What do you think? I think it felt incomplete, like there was something missing. That wasn't the way it was supposed to end, you know? Dreams are supposed to end in certain ways. This one was, I think. I felt like it was trying to tell me something, but I wasn't listening closely enough. Maybe you can try again next night. See if you hear the same recording. Speaking of, what frequency was this on? That's the weird part. When I tried to see, I realized I had hit the right channel and that it was in fact reading Alice in Wonderland. And this isn't exactly some obscure number station frequency on the AM bands. Well, maybe you'll dream it next night again anyway. That's the good thing with dreams. You can always dream them again. And maybe do something different the second time around. Are we gonna do it again? Wait, what? That was it? What? Okay, well, I guess there's a survival. Like, not survival. I guess there's a survived ending. Well, we didn't survive, but you know, whatever. Honestly, I would have just accepted my fate there and just drank until somebody else figured something out. I'm too lazy for all that extra work, to be honest. I wouldn't have crawled in the vent. I wouldn't have been fucking around with the debris. I would have just drank beers and let other people fuck around. People get desperate. People do dumb shit. Let them do it, and then I'll just be drinking my beer. If I die, I die. I die drinking beer. Yep.